Imagine a country sealed off from the world for over 2 centuries, a land of samurai, shoguns, and ancient traditions. Now, picture that same country, just a few decades later, with steam trains, battleships, telegraph lines, and a modern army that could challenge the world's greatest powers. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of the Meiji Restoration, one of the most radical and rapid transformations in human history. How did Japan pull it off? And what was the true cost of this incredible leap into the modern world? For more than 250 years, Japan was under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. It was a period of relative peace and stability, but also one of strict isolation. The country was intentionally cut off from most of the outside world, a policy known as sakoku. Japanese people were forbidden to leave, and foreigners were forbidden to enter, with only a tiny, controlled window for trade with the Dutch and Chinese in Nagasaki. Society was rigid, a feudal system with the samurai warrior class at the top, followed by farmers, artisans, and merchants. Life was dictated by tradition, and change was slow. But the world outside was changing fast. By the mid-19th century, Western powers, fueled by the Industrial Revolution, were expanding their empires across Asia. They had superior technology, powerful navies, and a hunger for new markets. It was only a matter of time before they turned their sights on Japan. That moment arrived in 1853. Into Tokyo Bay sailed four massive, black-hulled, steam frigates, puffing smoke and armed to the teeth. They were commanded by American Commodore Matthew Perry. His mission from the U.S. president was simple: force Japan to open its ports to American trade, by diplomacy if possible, by force if necessary. The Japanese, whose largest ships were little more than wooden sailing junks, were stunned. They called Perry's vessels the Black Ships. The shock was immense. The shogun's government, powerless to resist, was forced to sign the Convention of Kanagawa, ending centuries of isolation. This humiliation exposed the weakness of the shogunate. To many powerful regional lords or daimyo and ambitious young samurai, it was a national disgrace. They felt the shogun had failed to protect Japan from the barbarians. A powerful anti-government, anti-foreign sentiment began to grow, rallied under the slogan, Sanji, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians. The emperor, who for centuries had been a symbolic figurehead in Kyoto with no real power, suddenly became a potent symbol of national unity and resistance against the shogun in Edo, which we now call Tokyo. This growing unrest erupted into a brief but decisive civil war, the Boshin War. On one side, the forces of the Tokugawa shogunate. On the other, an alliance of powerful southern domains like Satsuma and Shura, who had secretly modernized their military forces. These domains, using Western rifles and tactics, quickly overwhelmed the shogun's more traditional samurai armies. In 1868, the shogun abdicated, and the rebels declared the restoration of imperial rule under the young Emperor Meiji. The era of the samurai was over. The Meiji era had begun. But here's the fascinating twist. The very people who had chanted, "Expel the barbarians," now realized that the only way to resist the West was to become like the West. The new Meiji government embarked on a breathtakingly ambitious program of modernization. Their new slogan became Fukoku Kyohei, enrich the country, strengthen the army. Japan needed to catch up with the West, and fast. The government sent high-level missions, like the famous Iwakura mission, on a world tour. They traveled to the United States and Europe, studying everything they could: constitutions, banking systems, factories, schools, military academies, post offices, and railways. They were like sponges, absorbing knowledge and bringing the best ideas back to Japan. The changes that followed were sweeping and relentless. The old feudal domains were abolished and replaced with prefectures, creating a strong, centralized state. The rigid class system was dismantled. All Japanese were now, in theory, equal citizens. A national army based on conscription replaced the samurai class, who lost their privileges and even their right to carry swords. This was a profound shock to their identity and led to several rebellions, most famously the Satsuma Rebellion led by the last samurai, Sago Takamori. But these uprisings were crushed by the new modern army. Economically, the government spearheaded industrialization. They built model factories for silk and textiles, established a national currency, the yen, and created a modern banking system. They laid thousands of miles of telegraph wire and railway track, connecting the nation like never before. Private enterprise was encouraged, leading to the rise of massive industrial and financial conglomerates known as the Z, names you might recognize today, like Mitsubishi and Mitsui. Socially, the transformation was just as dramatic. A national education system was created, making primary schooling compulsory for all boys and girls. Western clothing, hairstyles, and even food became fashionable in the cities. The Gregorian calendar was adopted. Japan was remaking itself from the ground up, blending Western technology with Japanese spirit. The results were astonishing. In just one generation, Japan had transformed. It developed a modern military that stunned the world by defeating China in the First Sino-Japanese War in 1895, and then, in an even more shocking victory, defeated a major European power, Russia, in the Russo-Japanese War of 1905. This was the first time a modern Asian nation had defeated a European one, and it sent shockwaves across the globe. Japan had not only avoided colonization, but had become an imperial power in its own right, joining the very club of nations it once feared. But this rapid modernization came at a cost. The speed of change created immense social strain. Farmers were burdened with heavy taxes to fund industrialization, leading to widespread poverty and unrest in the countryside. Factory workers faced harsh conditions and low pay, and the emphasis on military strength and nationalistic pride laid the groundwork for the aggressive expansionism and militarism that would lead Japan into World War II. The Meiji Restoration is a powerful story of survival, adaptation, and ambition. It shows how a nation, faced with an existential threat, can harness its collective will to achieve an almost impossible transformation. It's a complex legacy, one of incredible innovation and progress, but also one with a darker side that would shape the course of the 20th century. It reminds us that the path to modernity is often turbulent, and its price can be high. Thanks for watching. If you found this story of Japan's radical transformation interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most pivotal moments. See you next time.